Dr. Ibukun, for having me here at today's Booker.
Thank you for coming.
What a lovely restaurant you have here.
Thank you.
Yes. Before I delve into the questions, who is Dr. Ibukun?
Okay, so my name is Ibukun Adebayo Adedayo, and I like to describe myself as a serial entrepreneur. I'm full-blooded Nigerian. I run 3 businesses, so that's why I say that I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm a mother of 3 kids, and I'm passionate about young girls coming up and exploring, maximizing their potentials. My first degree was in medicine and went on into investment banking, which then dovetailed into real estate finance and investment. So I started up my company as a full consulting firm, which is what I do on the other side with a big real estate advisory and development desk. And then I run another company called Diva Orders. Diva Orders is basically an e-commerce platform for ladies. You can literally get all lady things from mama girl all the way to baby girl.
Interesting, you've successfully run 2 businesses. First is the real estate business, Diva Orders, which is an e-commerce platform.
And then, of course, today's Booker.
And today's Booker. Yeah. I believe you only just opened today's Booker a couple of months back.
So that's the impression that people have. Today's Booker literally started from my kitchen about 3 years ago, 2.5 to 3 years ago. Cooking went on in my kitchen. After a while, I built a small kitchen for them behind my house. And they'll cook and deliver to people. And the motivation was to deliver freshly made foods to people during office hours. So you can still have home-type foods in your office during office hours. And that ran for a while. And then we went up and opened an outlet in Zone 4, which opened up early this year around January. And then this one opened in August. This one that you're sitting in Wuse now opened in August.
Quite a lovely location, Ademola Adetukumbo. Why Ademola Adetukumbo?
So Ademola Adetukumbo is a heavily commercialized area in Nigeria. And in Abuja, and has an interesting blend of commercial and residential. The traffic is high, and then we run 24 hours. There's a heavy nightlife around Ademola Adetukumbo.
Absolutely.
So those are one of the reasons I felt was strategic to place a location in Ademola Adetukumbo. It's quite obvious to the people. Many people pass by, many offices around. It's central, so we can deliver to our clients much easier. We can deliver to so many angles of Abuja from Ademola Adetukumbo with a lot of ease.
And Ademola Adetukumbo has plenty of restaurants and hotels around it. The competition. Tell me, how do you intend to outsmart the competition?
So the idea is to just do your thing and do it well and ensure that your unique selling points are clear.
And what are those unique selling points?
So basically what we've said is today's Booker is not the typical restaurant that you have around because it's a Booker in that sense. And what is a Booker? A Booker is a local restaurant that has the Nigerian content both in the food and the ambience. So the average African person wants to come into a setting that feels like home. So in the taste of the food, you want to feel like home. In the ambience, you want to feel like home. And the real motivation for that name, today's Booker, is to let the world know that when you hear Booker, you just think of somewhere that you have flies perching around and stuff. Is to let us know that, see, we can have a Booker that has moved along with the times of modernism. So our unique selling point basically is come and have African homemade food in the real Booker food in an environment that is modernized, that is beautiful, and displays the beauty of the Nigerian culture along with the cuisine.
Recently, there's a new direction towards the word Booker. We've seen a lot of fascinating restaurants using the word Booker instead of the word restaurant. My question is, how do you intend to marry the local name, the local idea, the local conception about the word Booker with the pricing? If you're going to have something on Ademola Adetukumbo, which I believe is an expensive neighborhood, how are you going to marry with the pricing? Tell me.
So there are 2 ways that you work with pricing. One way is to decide to have your foods on the expensive end or on the higher end, and then you thrive your profits on margins. The other way is to work with turnover. So you have slimmer margins but increased turnover. So we've decided to pitch with the latter, which is basically to price our foods averagely. So you can come in and decently between 2,000 and 3,000, you have a decent African meal. Be full and live here contented. However, the plan is to then have massive numbers. So today's Booker becomes a major lunch point for people, a major hangout point for people where you know that you come, eat satisfied. with decent, average priced menu.
Yeah.
But then we didn't have the numbers that then helps us to maintain our bottom line.
Will you say you do
Breakfast? So we do breakfast, we
you
do
do
lunch,
lunch?
we do dinner, we do nighttime,
You do
midnight, because we
midnight
run
time.
24 hours.
You run 24 hours?
Yeah, so you
Wow.
literally can come in here. We have people come in here by 1 a.m. and asking to eat amala. And here you are ready to serve you.
And you're ready to go?
Absolutely.
Wow.
We have a full time on ground every time. So what you have is on Friday nights, for example, there's a drove of people coming here before club hours, after club hours.
Yeah.
You know,
To have
taking a
something to
meal.
eat.
Yes, before they go off to the club, or they're coming back from club. Before they go home, they stop by, have some pepper soup, and all that before they go. And then we
Pepper
have
soup.
a grill section that actually serves the nighttime. So we have boli at night. We have
Really?
we have grilled fish.
Grilled
we have the
fish.
whole shawarma, all of that outside there, and that appeals to a nighttime audience. We also have a bar, by the way.
Yeah, I
Yes.
see the bar there.
And then we have palm wine at the bar. We have the regular
You have
drinks. at
palm
the bar.
wine?
Yes, we have fresh palm wine at the bar.
Wow.
So we appeal to that audience that love the nightlife.
Yeah.
And it's in tandem with the Ademola Adetukubo life, which
Yeah.
is heavy at night too.
How did you come upon the ambience place? I kind of like the setting, your choice of sitting arrangement, the choice of wood, and the interior decoration. Was it your creation, or do you have a creative person handle that for you?
Yes, so it was a fusion of what the vision that we had for today's buka itself and what the typical buka would be before. So the typical buka would be under one tree somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
And so if you looked at this, you would see the tree fill in it. You would see
Okay.
that there's a bit of a rustic look. Then you have our tables having stuff that look like tree stumps.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
basically to create that, and then outside there's a fountain.
There's a fountain
So it's
out there.
almost like you're inside, but you're outside at the same time.
Oh.
And then we love the green. That also speaks of environmental conservation. The ambience is an interpretation of the vision.
What are the ups and downs you've learned in the course of trying to put this beautiful place together? Tell me, Doc.
So I'll give you a typical example with our menu.
Yeah.
We first of all started up with a menu that we would bill for amala, for example, and also bill for soups.
Okay.
And then we were surprised that many customers were saying, oh, why should I? Once they pick their amala, they just assume it came with soup.
Okay.
So a few things like that in terms of individual preferences came to play.
Yeah.
And we had to literally change our menu all over.
Yeah.
That's one. Then secondly, in terms of the setup, we did very good budgeting, very good preparation, and then at the last minute we found out that a few things were put in place. Literally, we're not going to work with the concept. For example, you were supposed to walk in here and go ahead and pick your foods.
Yeah.
And we found out that, at the back there, we didn't have enough space for that, interestingly.
Yeah.
You know, so many things still. And then we wanted to literally have stoves there. You would see the stove. We found out that, oh no, we had to work with gas. So a few things changed in the concept, but by the time we strung it all up together, it still came out beautiful.
You must have had challenges having the local authority give you the permission to set it up. Was it an easy process setting up this restaurant here?
It wasn't a problem in the sense that it didn't create a hitch for us. The singular reason is we've done quite some business in this environment,
Okay.
and we understand the peculiarities. Can this be better? I
Yeah.
would say yes. So I'll give you an example. Tax authorities came here recently
Okay.
and came with a sticker, ready to put a sticker
Okay.
on our premises. And we had to bring out all our papers to say that we're compliant with tax.
Yeah.
We pay our VAT in time, pay all our taxes right. But then somebody somewhere didn't check the records and just came here with a sticker.
Wow.
We had about 6 groups of people coming from the local authorities
Yeah.
to say, oh, we had to pay for one thing or the other.
Yeah.
But there actually should be a one-stop location where all of that come to you as a document that tells you this and this and this is what
So
you're going to
throw
have,
some
and
more
then
clarity
you don't have surprises
Yeah.
springing off. There are also a few things around what the quantum of these kinds of money should be, but I'm a strong believer in the entity called Nigeria,
Yeah.
and I also believe that if you looked at where we are 5 years ago, we're much better. Sales,
Where we are today.
yeah, so we can double up.
Yeah.
We can do better.
Yeah.
So that, but I said also, so when we're setting this up, I said, if this was a business that a whole family had to depend on from day one, it would be tough to meet up with all those demands
demands.
from regulatory authorities and still be able to run it.
We're looking at the coordination of the entire tax
Yes, to be.
process, that
not just tax, other authorities, other local, it's more
local
AMAC.
levies
Yes,
and so on.
there needs
Yes.
to be a concerted,
Yeah.
you know,
Document
approach
showing
to
you
it. Yes,
all
you
what
already
you
know
need.
what it is you're
You're gonna
coming
be,
against,
yeah.
and you have all of it properly documented.
Yesterday, when I came in here, I was very impressed with the presentation of the food. So, in order to set those standards, how were you able to set those standards, and how do you think you can sustain those standards?
Okay. In terms of the health, we start with, for example, if you're going to be a food handler, we ensure you do all your food handlers tests so you don't have diseases passing from human beings to human beings. We're also particular about what happens in the kitchen. So, in what the buka used to be, you'll find somebody sniffing the nose into the food. We've taken all of that out of what a buka is, and then ensured that our kitchen is standard. We're able to deliver foods. Our personnel are cleanly dressed. They don't have hair dropping in the food. They don't have people. So someone has a cough, a cold, the person is taken away from work. Now, in terms of setting standards, we have an organogram that we work strictly by. We filled all the positions but one in the organogram. So we run this like a typical. So you see a restaurant, we say buka, but we have a full organizational structure behind it. I must say that I've been blessed with a good team because I literally come in here and for the most part I'm sitting like a customer and the one the entity. It's been, I feel blessed to have that type of team because I don't think that it's a norm. I believe that they've just decided to go beyond the mile and they ensure that they stay as much as possible within the rules of the organization. We've had to expunge one or two people who decided not to fit into the format, but the team generally has been great and they've been self-driven. Stay by the rules.
Yeah, talking about standards, most organizations function with an SOP, a standard operating procedure.
Yes.
Would you say you operate with an SOP here?
So we have SOPs, we have staff manuals
Okay.
that we all run by. A few times we need to sit down again and look at these things and say that, oh, no, this is not in place, this is not in place.
To maintain the standard, how rigid are you with your SOP?
SOPs are guidelines.
Absolutely.
But there are times that you need to step out of your SOPs because you may step out of it and then have to amend the SOPs as a whole, or you may step out of it for a while to be able to achieve a certain goal. However, we try as much as possible to stay within those guidelines.
You mentioned about your team, working with a very fantastic team. Sounds interesting. But in the restaurant business, like in most businesses, every time there is the cut, the employees get the hit. Emphasis is always on revenue, it's always on profit, revenue, profit. And whenever the CEOs like yourself need to cut down on costs, labor suffers the most. Now, in order to provide these quality services to your clients, to your customers who troop in here on a daily basis, how do you intend to marry that with, cutting costs, cutting labor costs, and still maintaining the same services, knowing fully well that the hospitality industry is all about people and the people who serve them? So quality in the restaurant business is all about the people who serve them. So how do you intend to do that if you need to cut costs?
I'm personally very averse to cutting labor costs.
Okay.
And the singular reason is if you had priced your wages right, then you're not likely to have to cut costs very soon in terms of labor costs very soon. What we'd rather do, what we've done really, is to look at our wages and price it very optimally with what we thought our revenue projections would be. However, I understand in business, sometimes you may have made revenue projections that you could fall short of. So the idea really is to motivate your team and to let them understand that revenue is very significant when they all think about their wages. So the average today's worker staff is eager to drive revenue because he understands that somebody's just not sitting there and packing everything that comes into the company. It actually means that if the company does well, the people do well. If the company does not do well, then it does affect its people. But you see, I would look at different layers of cost before I come to staff cost. And I'll tell you why. I just do strategic oversight. These are the people that drive the revenues. So when they become demotivated, there's a tendency for you to enter into a positive cycle in the sense that they will most likely reflect that on the job, and then it goes down that spiral. You then lose more revenue and lose more revenue because your staff are not driving it anymore like they used to.
Absolutely.
So labor cost is usually the last thing that I want to touch. In my business life, I've not had to drop down individual salary costs. There have been times when we've had to drop some roles
Okay.
rather than drop individual
So
salaries.
you rather drop the
Some
number of
roles and
staff.
have people do more.
Okay.
So you have people multitasking for the same salary, but passing the information and letting them understand that this is going to happen for a while. And the typical person would rather have that than have his revenue drop.
Irrespective of what you do, the industry has the highest number of staff turnover. The hospitality industry, very, very high.
We've not had very high staff turnover.
Really? So what's the secret? Tell me.
I'll still put it back to the team. They
Yeah.
find a way of having fun while at work.
Yeah.
So there's a satisfaction that comes with the job. And then we've priced wages quite fairly.
Okay.
And we let the team see the future in the entity.
Okay.
I typically say, I allow my teams to do things on the side.
Okay.
Because one statement by Tyler Perry that I stay by, and I say it a lot,
Okay.
is that he said that, not in the exact words, but he said basically his team should build a vision while they build his.
Okay.
So if you were in today's book staff and told me that, for example, you sold makeup,
Yeah.
I'll be happy to introduce your makeup to people
Yeah. Yeah.
while you do your work.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
and some of them want 24 hours on, 24 hours off.
Yeah.
I say to them, in that 24 hours off, build another life.
Yeah.
I'll be happy for, in 5-10 years, people live here and I see them as great CEOs.
Absolutely.
So we look to build the people. We've not experienced a high staff turnover at all.
Okay.
And we don't expect to experience it.
Unexpected. Quite a long time ago, it's all about having a large market share. The total number of customers that come into your restaurant has always been related to profits. But of recent, the principles of the service profit chain has actually debunked that theory that the customer is the king. Because the volume of sales is directly related to the number of customers that you have. The notion has always been there that the customer is the king, the customer is the king. But today, the principle of the service profit chain has made us to understand that the customer is not the king anymore, that the employees are the king. So do you really see your employees as the king?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because they can chase the customers.
Absolutely.
The king is in charge, really. So who is really in charge? It's the team.
The team.
Because you see, the customers can't chase the employees,
No.
but the employees can chase the customers.
Yeah.
And then you have no business.
And a happy employee will definitely
A
bring
happy
out
employee then keeps them coming. So who's really king? It's the
the
employee.
employee.
Yes.
So you
And they have
actually
to be treated as such.
and you do treat them as such.
Absolutely.
I can see the smile in them. Look, the hospitality industry in Nigeria is in dire need of change. The growth in the industry is not commensurate with development. You see the total number of hotels, restaurants, nightclubs, bars, spas within the hospitality industry is on the increase. Now, however, that does not translate to economic development, empowerment, and better social life for the industry, for those who work the industry. And that has led industry experts to ask questions. Many of them are asking for a new direction for the hospitality industry. Many of them are calling for a bill from the National Assembly. With the Ninth Assembly only just begun, led by the charismatic Rochas Okorocha as the Senate Committee Chairman on Tourism, and Honorable Ibama as the House Committee Chairman on Tourism. What should Nigerians be expecting from this Ninth Assembly regarding the hospitality industry?
I see Mr. Okorocha doing a lot of revolution in that space because of the way you see that he initially has approached the first few, However, will he be able to restructure everything? The regulatory framework is almost extinct in terms of execution.
Okay.
So, apart from just passing a bill, the execution framework is where the real issue then comes
lies
up.
in
In putting up a new bill, the strategy would then be what is the execution framework that is being put in place that will ensure that everyone actually falls in line and then benefit from a new bill.
Because I kind of find it strange that the hospitality industry is kind of locked under the tourism industry. And at the moment, it seems like it doesn't exist. And that's what gave rise to Hospitality 360 Africa.
Okay.
The need for us to really throw more light on the hospitality industry so that we bring in all key players together to see how we can continuously better the industry. We want to see standards created for the industry. We want to see ratings, for example, the star rating in hotels and the diamond ratings of restaurants. We want to see that being implemented in the country. We want to see the hazard analysis and critical control point, the HACCP systems being implemented in the kitchens. We want to see hygienes in the kitchens sorted out. All these parameters that should bring about sustainability in the industry are powered by laws and policies. If you are to be right in front of Honorable Yama right now and Senator Rocha Sokorocha, what message will you pass on to them for the industry?
It'll be basically around setting standards that people would need to fit into to be able to, first of all, float anything in the hospitality industry, and then constant checks on those entities, because you see, anything that goes wrong in that space drills down to the people's health, drills down to the people's lifestyles. It will be basically to have re-engineered standards in place. So, for example, when we're setting up today's booker, we decided to put things in place ourselves, not because somebody said you need to tick this and tick this and tick this box before you can set up an entity. We're looking at setting up a today's booker in Dubai very soon, and I have a list of things that we must abide by for us to even run an entity that people eat from.
Yeah.
So those are things that, so I'm talking closely now around the food business.
Yeah.
We need policies and procedures set in place that entities need to abide by and adhere to before they can start and on a continuing basis. And somebody needs to overlook that process.
Okay.
That is something that I'm going to be happy to speak with them about, so that when you enter an entity, you know that what you're getting is quality food, prepared in an hygienic environment, served by people that are decent and safe and healthy. Yeah. You're not worried about all of that, because you know that the government has ensured all of that for you.
Standardization calls for industry confidence. Travelers from both local and international want to have confidence when they go into a restaurant. I can imagine an international traveler coming to Nigeria. It would be nice when they go into searching for these names and they could say, today's booker, 3 diamond rating, 2 diamond rating, 4 diamond ratings. It's not existing in Nigeria at the moment. Don't you think that should be existing?
Yes, so that's very important, and it's what drives decision making in many climes. It also drives entities to do better with everything that they do, because they understand that this goes into the ratings. That's critical, that's important, and entities like Hospitality 360 Africa can begin to drive those types of things.
In Africa today, I've seen many women turn around failed businesses into success, into serious success. I've seen women start up businesses from the scratch and taking them right up to the top. Tell me, what's your secret?
Okay, now you touch on a space that I'm passionate about. So I'm passionate about women being excellent at what they do. I don't think that there's a specific secret to a woman making success of a business that is different from what a man needs to make a success of a business. However, I think that she has an additional flair that can give her an edge over a man. And that flair comes with, for example, a woman in the hospitality industry. There's something about the woman that is hospitable on its own. So she has a way of turning that into the business. Right? So you find a reflection of more smiles around. If it's a woman. So I always say that a woman should look at what her strong points are, harness those strong points, put it into the business. That then gives you an edge over a man. A man has his own strengths that he can harness and put his own business. So and that's fine. But it's important for a woman to understand that she needs to go by the round business principles, run by them, and then add the little extra that comes with her being a woman.
What message will you have for an average young girl who aspires one day to get to the top?
Number one, you need to be extremely focused.
extremely focused.
You need to understand that you have everything you need right on the inside of you to deliver the value that is required to take you to the top.
Okay.
And then third, you need to decide within yourself that everything that is required, you will put in to it without getting distracted by issues around the workplace that affect women specifically.
Okay. I keep tabs with leading women in hospitality in Africa. In Nigeria, there's one called Leading Women in Hospitality, as in TEA. That's a great forum. I follow a lot of women on that platform. Many great women in the hospitality industry, driving the changes, driving the industry. Are you a member of that forum?
I'm not. I'll be doing at some point, but I'm not right now.
I think you should be there. I think you should be there.
I'll look into that.
The caliber of people I follow on their social handle, and they have quite a lot of programs here and there that are motivating. So I think your experience, what you do at the moment, need to be shared with the entire world so that the younger ones can emulate. And I think that's a great platform for you to join. One more question. Hygiene. We at Hospitality 360 Africa, we believe in hygiene. As a matter of fact, standard is very important to us. We try to imbibe that standard among everybody. And we have our Hospitality Week, which we do every year. And within that Hospitality Week, it's just a week for which we give more kindness to the industry, more kindness for the customer, more kindness for those who run the industry, who work the industry, like the employees, and also more kindness to the entire Nigerians. This year, one of our key focus is I say no to dirty kitchen.
Yeah.
This is a serious campaign, a campaign we hope to take to the private homes, the private kitchens, and also the public kitchens. We want to see how we can sanitize the industry and get rid of dirty kitchen. Because the kitchen is very key to the average man, key to our stomachs, key to our health. Have you heard of the hashtag, I say no to dirty kitchen campaign?
I've not, but I've heard it from you, and I know you're passionate about it.
Okay.
And we're happy to join the train in that.
Wow. Will you do us a little bit of declaration that you're part of us by saying, I, Dr. Ibukun Adebayo Adedayo, I say no to dirty kitchen.
Great. I, Dr. Ibukun Adebayo Adedayo, I say no to dirty kitchen.
Thank you, Doctor, for having me at your wonderful restaurant.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.